Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum to all the beautiful soul beings in the building. They have a dual teaching tonight, and then the brother Sheikh Fard, Dr. Wali hopping in and joining us in a moment, inshallah. But in the meantime, in the between time, we'll go ahead and open up the class. quick recitation, big zikr, like we always do to get the vibrations at the right height. Inshallah, mashallah. He's ready and أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله وهو العلي العظيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله سيدنا محمد صلاة تناجنا بها من جميع الأحوال والآفات وتقضي لنا بها من جميع الحاجات وتطهرنا بها من جميع السيئات وترفعنا إلى درجات وتبلغنا بها أقصى الغايات من جميع الخيرات في الحياة وبعد الممات اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره حق قدره حق قدره ومقداره العظيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد بأداد أنفاس المخلوقة اللهم صل على محمد بأداد أشعار الموجودة اللهم صل على محمد بيداد حروف الله ودعوتي اللهم صل على محمد اللهم صل على محمد بيداد البداية والنهاية من المخدوم والمخجود إلا بخد الأخبار وصلى الله على خير خلقه محمد وعلى أجمعين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام 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 على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. These and all great blessings are brought to us by none other than the blessings of Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba, 7 times with me, Barkay, Sittering Tuba, 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 Barkay, Jetta, Sittering Tuba. Qul la ilaha illahu wa tuflihun, which means say la ilaha illallah and be successful. So we'll get a quick 108, 108 in, because 108 in Abjad would equal up to the name Yah Haq, and the Haq is the truth. La ilaha illallah, in accordance with the number attached to the name of Allah, that means the truth. Writing La ilaha illallah in accordance with that number for a little multiplication of the blessings, inshallah, because Islam is mathematics and mathematics is what? Is Allah. Bismillah. Rahman Rahim. La ilaha illallah, 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 la ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah, 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 la ilaha illallah. 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 La ilaha illallah, 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 la ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah, 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 la ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah, 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 la ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah, 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 la ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah, 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 la ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah, 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 la ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah, 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 la ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. Muhammadur Rasulullah. Alayhi salawatullah. La ilaha illallah. There is no God but Allah. There is no existence but this divine reality. Alayhi salawatullah. And upon him may be the peace and prayers of Allah. La ilaha illallah. Kaf ha ya rain sod. Kufitu. Kufitu kula darari nilahu di siri la ilaha illallah. Habli moradia kama ahwahu di siri la ilaha illallah. Yasiru ya usra kama ahwahu di siri la ilaha illallah. Allah nabiya Mustafa Yallahu salabi la ilaha illallah. Salatan nugnim bisalam ilahi bisiri la ilaha illallah. Ain't nothing like a Sheikh Avenue Bamba Kasai and a prescribed zikr from Sheikh Sufi. Alhamdulillah. Quick check up real quick to see if the brother is here. I believe, nope. I bear witness and testify that there is no God but Allah, and Allah is the best of planners. We both had a similar topic of discussion today, something to speak on, to teach and revisit. And I don't see him in just yet. From Mustafa, if you get a message or anything, shoot it to me through WhatsApp if able to, and I'll share the floor, inshallah. Now, the entirety of the path of Sufism can be summed up in three words: Taskia tul nafs. Taskia, purification, tul, of or to, nafs, the ego, the soul, the self. And within those three words, taskia tul nafs, are three additional stages. I wouldn't say additional stages, but stages within inside of this purification of the soul that we get taught through the teachings of Sheikh Afan Nubamba, Sheikh Ibrahim was delivered by Sheikh Sufi. There are three words that begin with the letter T. I know we've heard Sheikh Sufi mention these before. So for 787 Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and a prayer coming your way, does anybody remember those three words that begin with a T in regards to this process called Taskia tul Nafs? They both begin with a T. All three, the second letter is an A. Tarbiyah. Does Tarbiyah sound familiar? Tarbiyah is spiritual purification through tests and trials, right? Just like the Bifal say, if a Bifal brother were to wake up and just have too perfect of a day where everything goes exactly the way as this person intended it for it to go, stop for a while. If there was not one test and trial, not one hurdle, not one obstacle, not one speed bump for me to struggle to try to get over so that I can get stronger in that struggle and get on the other side of this hurdle that I thought I wasn't going to be able to get over with a newfound strength that's not really newfound because it was already in here. You used it to get over this speed bump, right? Tarbiyah is spiritual purification through tests and trials. That's where the majority of all the experience comes, based on how these teachers are delivered to us. If we don't get a test and trial, right, we'll never know what we can do in the face of this test and trial. For example, my granddad tells this story about some of his friends going on a trip to drop off a lot of lumber and wood at the lumber yard. But on the way to the lumber yard, they ran into a bad storm. A block or so in front of them, lightning struck a tree, and the tree fell down over the course of the road. Everybody in the van with my granddad's friend is losing their mind. How are we gonna get to the dock to drop off this wood now? Our money and everything is tied up in this. What am I gonna do for dinner tomorrow? Like we need this money to go get food and do everything. Like, but my granddad's friend is just, hmm, there's a tree in the road, and we don't need it there. Only one in the van not stressing out. So my granddad's friend says he gets out of the van and he walks up to the tree and he surveys it. And his friends get out still stressed, right? Because they don't see this as a test and trial in front of them that they have to literally get over. How are we gonna get here? We need to get the money to feed our families. There's no way for us to get around this tree. We can't go over it. We can't go around it. So I guess we might as well just turn around and go back. Friends are just getting ready to give up. As soon as the test and trial landed in front of them, they were like, "Oh no, bro, I'm cool. I don't know a way around that. So I'm not even gonna try to think about one. I'm just gonna go away from that. Nobody got time for that test and trial." But the driver of the van was like, "No, before you even think about doing that, how about all of us walk over here to the tree?" So friends look confused, but they walk over there with him to the tree. It's not a big tree at all, it's just tall. So my granddad's friend leans into the tree and tells all his friends to do the exact same thing. And when they start to lean into the tree, pushing together, they slowly, inch by inch, move the tree out of the way so the van and the truck can make it on through and they can take their wood to the lumber yard. Spiritual purification through tests and trials. I think of those 3 or 4 brothers that were in that van or that truck with my granddad's friend would have been a little patient, right? And sat there and analyzed this situation. Like there's nothing that can fall in front of you that Allah hasn't already given you the strength to overcome. That's That was my granddad, not a Sufi, but he's giving me a teaching on Tarbiyah in pure English, right? It's a process that we go through in the midst of something right in front of us to gain strength in that, to purify ourselves, to purify our mind in that particular self. Because those friends, they didn't have clear mind. Their mind wasn't balanced at all. They probably were mad, breathing hard. But the one that was at balance and equilibrium was able to come to a conclusion that nobody else could see, test that conclusion, and then get over the speed bump by proper application of it. Now he's been purified of this particular trend. Let's say they're still in a storm, right? What if they drive a mile down the road and lightning strikes and another tree falls down? You think those same friends are going to just be like, "Nah, we pushed one. We ain't pushing another one. How about we just go ahead and turn back around?" No, we're going to get out. We're all going to lean into this tree together. We're going to push it out of the way if we have the strength to do so. And inshallah, if Allah wills it, they go on about their business. But Tarkia, Tarkia is the second word or a second station of purification through the process. Right. Tarkia is was probably one of my favorite words because of the first word we use to describe it. Tarkia is pragmatic, pragmatic spiritual education of the soul. Pragmatic meaning you can do something with it. You can do something with it. Or these teachings light a fire up on the inside, which is really just yourself getting ready to work to go through this process to learn. But pragmatism is one beautiful thing about this path because if you recite Ya Salam, oh the peaceful one, oh the source of peace, 12,000 times a day, I'm pretty sure that after you've consciously told your subconscious, oh source of peace, Ya Salam, Ya Salam, Ya Salam, you're calling on that. whenever you consciously are presented with something that under other circumstances may take you off of your square, may take you away from your peaceful state of mind, may take you away from balance and equilibrium, it won't do it. Because at that point, as soon as something triggers you, just, yeah, salam. Just, and then find peace right there in that moment. Because as Sheikh Sufi says, the Sufi is a son of the moment. We live in the West now, so it's not, can't say that it's easy, right? Because the first word was tarbiyah through tests and trials. That's where the strength is. Just like Sheikh Sufi says, I know he gets a lot of practices, a lot of real high numbers. The miracle in the act of us being who we are over here in America, if you don't do 12,000 zikrs a day, at least try to make your prayers every day. That's a miracle in the West. That is pragmatic spiritual elevation going on the inside, but it's pragmatic spiritual education of the soul because some of these names of Allah, you look at them in English, are action verbs. They're things that you can do. They're essences and vibrations that you can exude. You can be peaceful to people when you encounter them, no matter whether they're Christian, Muslim, Jew, Buddhist, Hindu. It doesn't matter. You can be graceful and merciful. You can embody every single one of those 99 names. Actually, you already have. Those 99 names are dormant in you already. The process through pragmatic spiritual education of the soul, not just saying, you just got to listen to the pastor and believe it. There's nothing pragmatic about that. I'm not doing anything. I'm just, yep, a human being got out of a boat, bad example, and and walked on water. But I do know somebody that got out of a boat and walked on water in the story. So Taskia to Nav, so this purification of the soul, Tarbia, spiritual purification, Taskia, pragmatic spiritual education of the soul, and Tasfia, which is an elevation of the soul through the seven stations. Seven stations, you say? Seven stations. We'll overlay those stations and use a word some may be a bit more familiar with, because we're talking about seven successive stations of the soul, right? In this progress, there's another system that has seven stations, seven places, seven spinning wheels of energy centers within the human body. These are essentially the seven Islamic chakras, but the inner teachings of all of them are essentially the same, no matter the system. So if this third T word, tasfia, is an elevation of the soul through those seven stations, do you ever really get stuck at one of them? If it's the elevation through those seven stations, we are able to get to the top. We are able to obtain perfection solely because of إن أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من ألف شهر تنازل وملائكته وروحه فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر. That's my favorite part. تنازل وملائكته وروحه فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر. It self soul in the Quran is talking about the Quran coming down, but Quran means the recitation. There's an essence in you that recites the Quran. Right? Message that came down with the Spirit of God being escorted by the angels of God by the permission of God, the Most High. He took a piece of himself and sent it down here to create each and every single one of us. Alhamdulillah for the opportunity. blessing to exist to even try to make it through these 7 stations. But we'll run through these. I'll say the Arabic name and then also the English. And then we can go through a breakdown of these 7 stations. So we'll have another tool for comparative analysis. If you go study Buddhism and you see 7 chakras, and Hinduism and you see 7 chakras, and you go study, sheesh, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. The Nafs Amara, which is bottom chakra in the Islamic school of thought. The Nafs Amara is the soul that is inciting to evil. It's lower than the state of an animal. So not even dwelling in this animal nature that supposedly lies dormant within all of us that sometimes rises up as the untamed ego. But this soul that is inciting to evil, it's inciting to evil. It's a sneaking whisperer going in to tell you to do things you know you shouldn't based on your walk and talk, your creed, oaths taken, witnesses bared with the Shahada to tell you, what, brother, I know you remember how good that bacon used to taste, brother. I know you remember how good that swine that don't sweat at all tastes. Go ahead and go over to grandma's house. You know they cooking breakfast. Eat your couple sausage patties. Go home, brush your teeth real good. Ain't nobody gonna know you ate no pork. Astaghfirullah, 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 Allahu Akbar. If nobody else saw me eat that, I know Allah saw me eat that. I ain't going to no mosque. No, no. So don't listen to the soul or the lower self, lower than the station of the animal that's trying to yell up high enough at you to get you to fall off of what you stand on and make us have this allegorical fall back down from grace again. And that statement will make a little more sense when we get to the 7th station, but go down and then up. Nafs Lawama is now the self-accusing soul. So we went from the soul inciting to do evil. Brother, man, you know you don't want to get down with all of that. Just no, just go. They won't know. They won't know. Just go ahead and go to the store and get you a stuff for a while. Now you gotten to a point to where your consciousness and your vibrations have been raised up a bit above that first station. So now we're at this station where now our self is accusing itself. What is it accusing itself of? It's accusing itself of the wrongdoings or the evil that might have been done at the first station. Things that you know you're not supposed to do or shouldn't do due to valid reasons. Like we all know Muslims don't eat pork, but most people don't know that the pig doesn't have sweat glands. So outside of the religious teaching about why a person shouldn't eat pork, all it should take is for someone to say, hey, that's one of the only animals that does not sweat. It has one spot where it can get rid of all of that stuff at, and it's on the bottom of its feet that walks around and crap all day. So what do you think you're putting in your body when you eat the pig feet? But my Muslim self is weird because I don't eat it. Now, stop letting your soul incite you to biting down on that pig foot, brother. And try to work up to this next station, the self-accusing soul. I get a headache every time I eat that dip at the family cookout. I need to ask Auntie what she putting in that beef dip because it can't just be beef in there. So I asked Auntie what she put in that beef dip, and she said, "Yeah, it's a beef and a sausage mixture." That's where the headaches. That's where the headache was coming from. That's a true story. Now, the self-accusing soul has to work a bit harder to counteract the bad that it was doing at the bottom chakra, at the lowest station of the soul inciting the evil. Now you're self-accusing. Why was I acting like that? It was me. You weren't supposed to do that. That's why you got pulled over and got a ticket. So next time, don't speed like that in a residential neighborhood or what have you. Nafs Mulhima at the third chakra, third station of the soul, is the soul that is now inspired to do good, because it's turned around and it's looked at all of that crap it was doing in the past and how it was stuck down there with all that crap. It's like that pig foot in the mud, and it doesn't ever want to go back to that. It looks forward a little bit and it sees a station where it was accusing itself of all those bad things and wondering why it did it. And then it looks straight forward and realizes it doesn't even matter why I did it. What matters now is that I set my intention to never do it again. What matters now is I set my intention to read more Quran. What matters now is I set my intention to do more zikr. What matters now is I set my intention to go to the mosque every now and then. I live in Middle Georgia in a predominantly Southern Baptist community. So sometimes my intention has to be to suck it up and go to church with your family, regardless of how they may believe in it or what truths that I may or may not know. I just leave them in the car and try to my best to sit there and enjoy that service with the family, because that would be a good thing to do. That would be the best thing to do. So in cases where some may not affiliate with me a whole lot because they're afraid of Islam, is kind of how it's portrayed on TV. And they forget that, hey, I'm still your nephew, hey, I'm still your grandson. You know, now I just pray 4 times a day more than the average Christian. I used to pray over dinner and that was it as a Christian. But now I pray when I wake up. We pray after midday. We pray in the middle. We pray when the sun goes down. We pray when the moon comes up. Pray before you go to sleep. Take the prayer with you to sleep and pray while you're in the pray while you're in that state. How you're inspired to do good. And when you do good and you do better, you feel good, you feel better, and pretty sure we produce better. So now we're not producing any of those lower vibrations that we would be at the seventh chakra, or sorry, bottom, or the Nafsamara, inciting to do evil. We're not even accusing ourselves of the things we were doing anymore. We've made a complete turn and went to point further upward. So now we're inspired to do good, and now we're doing good, and it feels good. What's this lightness that I have of feeling my heart and my body? Like it feels like the essence on the inside of me is just so light that it's just gonna hop right on out. It feels so peaceful. Congratulations. Naps Mukmaina, the fourth chakra, the one in the middle, the soul at peace. Stocks are alive, but over here in the West, I think that's one of the hardest ones to get to. Because the bottom is just inciting to do evil. The next one up is accusing itself of the evil that is done. And the other after that is now inspired to do good. But be inspired to do good all you want unless you actually do something with that good that's been given to you. And when you do it from the heart, your soul is at peace. Yeah, now, there's a reason this one's green. Alhamdulillah for the blessings and the teachings of Al Khidr. Alhamdulillah. But remember, in a lot of the Renaissance paintings and images we would see of Caesar Borgia, Isa ibn Maryam, astaghfirullah. Yeah, 2 fingers pointing up and 1 finger pointing here. Sometimes he might, whatever the mudra with this finger or this hand, it's a mudra. Don't let the fact that it's in a Christian painting fool you. But he's always pointing to his heart. That's right in the middle, because you can. I got a phone call. But at the fourth station of the soul, you can look down. Shouldn't, but down is the soul that is inspired to do good or was inspired to do good. lower than an animal, self-accusing and just doing evil. And now, since you're at peace, you think that if you turn back around and look up, that we're going to see the exact polar opposite of those lower vibrations that existed at the first, second, and third station of the soul, or the bottom mixed up in third chakra from the bottom. Yes, because if we have now reached the point to where our soul is at peace, our mind, heart, and spirit are all aligned, especially if we've done zikr to polish and purify and clean out all the idols in our heart so that Allah dwells in there. If we're at that state of peace at that fourth chakra, Jesus is always pointing here, the only other place to go after that is to the fifth station, which is Nafs Radia, or now the soul is pleased with Allah. It's at peace. Ya Salam. All right, Ya Salam, oh, the source of peace. There is no sources of peace. There's no multiple sources of peace. There's only one source of peace. So when you realize that you're at peace and you're moving in that peace, Allah can now dwell in that heart now. Allah dwells in that heart. So of course, you cleaned up this house for Allah to live in. Allah is definitely going to be pleased with you because you swept the floor. You got the cobwebs up out of here. All the black spots and hard spots on the heart are now gone. Allah is able to reside in here because, what does it say in the Quran? Allah does not fit in the heavens or the earth, right? But Allah does fit in the heart of a true believer. Now, now Allah, I'm pleased with Allah. I'm pleased with Allah because He's the source of this peace. It's the only place it could have came from, so I can't be pleased with any other being. What is the only thing that could come next now? If I'm pleased with Allah, I've done good. I can't say I've done good, but this sixth station, Nafs Mardia, is when Allah says this. Allah is pleased with you at the sixth station, or third eye chakra, so we say. The only other place to go from there is to make this thing vibrate so much to where it's able to pop right on out and come into contact with that chakra that floats above the head. That's the connection to everything else up there. Nafs Kamalia is now the perfected soul, what we would call Insan Kamil, or perfect man, perfect mind, perfect person, perfect cute in man being, right? Because we went from being incited to do evil to now we're self-accusing, trying to figure out why we were doing these things. We're inspired to do the exact opposite of those things, to turn around and do good, just like Quran says. If you do something that is bad or wrong or commit a sin, please do turn around and try to counteract it with good deeds, because the good deeds hold more weight on the scales than those so-called bad. So please always try to make sure that the balance doesn't tip one way or the other. The scale doesn't tip one way or the other. Dead balance, equilibrium. So now being at peace right here in the heart, getting it all clean for Allah. But if you're in there cleaning it for Allah, message, and the heart is a place where Allah does and can fit, message, because He doesn't fit in the heavens or the earth, but He fits in the heart of the true believer. You're right there at that station, right smack in the middle. And now, because you've done so and continue to want to strive to do better, to learn the path, study your Arabic word a day, study a short poem by Cheikh Nubamba, type his name in on YouTube and pick a new video every day. I'm still learning stuff about him because of all the wisdom that he wrote. We remain at peace there to the point where now Allah is pleased with us. Fifth chakra, throat. Allah is now pleased with us at the sixth, third eye chakra, and we continue raising that kundalini. raising salat, as we say, then we match the vibration that exists up here at the seventh chakra from right here within the sixth to vibrate up high enough to make that connection and attain that divine union, the perfected soul. So, just to say that some of the things that are going on in your local every hood USA, your local South Side USA, your local housing projects USA can't be reoriented in the correct direction. Because just through that journey through those seven stations, you go from someone that may be doing evil. They might be trapping out the bando, right? But if they have the proper experience, whether it's just them speaking to someone like us or seeing someone like us and asking a question, hey, brother, what's all the beads around your neck? How you get a chance to give him some spiritual teachings while he's down at the first chakra, the first station of the soul. Now he's questioning, like, wait a minute, I know this dude from Unionville. He used to be a Crip too. He got a car and a house, and I'm still in the. Maybe it's something really in them spiritual and religious books. Maybe it's something in them and those zikr beads. I might need to get me a pair of Muslim beads, Hindu beads, or something or another. And now he's actually seen, he's had an experience with somebody who came from the same place and has now made that same 180 to where the teachings from the seven chakras, if we're able to personify them and teach them in understandable English, I hate to say it like that, but we have to speak the language of our people where our people are at. We're supposed to meet them right where they're at. So I would be remiss to just look at someone and not to say that I'm judging because Allah is the judge, but to just look at an old friend or an old classmate and just see them still doing the same stuff we were doing 10, 15 years ago and not say a kind or motivational word or something just a little deep just to try to prompt an original thought, right? Because that original thought a lot of times is that second station. That original thought is why in the HELL am I? You know what, bro? I got to do better. Ah, keep doing better. Become peaceful and at peace at your station, and then be pleased with Allah because you realize all the blessings He gave you. I might still be in the hood, but got a car and a house, and I got heat and AC, got a stove, got a wash and dryer, got shower, got running water, got family that lives down the street. But everybody else looks at as a negative is going to be transmuted. It's like the progression through those seven stations of the soul. Um, Before hopping into another three real quick, I know we've heard these before, but with these particular teachings, these are the ones that they have to be heard almost over and over and over until they become crystallized so that one day, inshallah, we'll be walking down the street and someone will see a pair of beads around your neck and then they ask a question and now boom, you've got the gist of the seven chakras, you got the gist of the seven stations of the soul, how the soul exists at each of those stations, and the proper zikr or the proper way of delivering the teaching to help the person come up to the next level. If they're just incited to do an evil, la ilaha illallah, there is no God but Allah. That's the zikr. If they're self-accusing, Ya Allah, you call on that source now. There is no God but Allah. Because something just doing evil, la ilaha illallah. That's the beginning of the path. Self-accusing, la Ya Allah, and calling on Allah. Now I know that that's the only one that can have this process happen. Yeah, he's the only one with the power to make it happen. Now I try to do good. I try to do good, and I do good. Yahoo, Yahoo. That's also another hint because they'll remember that two more stations up. Once we're at peace, Nab Smoot Maina, the zikr would be Ya Haq, right? Ya Haq, the truth is right smack in the middle. That's where Jesus is pointing right here. The truth lies right here, but it only lies right here if it's cleansed up and polished with the remembrance of Allah and zikr to make it a place to where Allah can inhabit. Soul is pleased with Allah, Yah Hay, the ever living, because this essence now that we know dwells right here is ever living. This is probably one of the spots where that old adage they say you die before you die. So when you die, you don't really die. I think if I realized right there at that point that the me that I thought was up here is actually right here. Because think about it. When somebody is like, hey, you huh? Me? Everybody, you instinctively point here. Instinctively point here. Nobody's ever looked at you and said, hey, you. And you said, who? Me? Oh, we always point right here. Because deep down on the inside, we know where we are. We just have to clean it up and purify it so we can get back in there. Allah is now pleased with us for doing this so that now the light of Him can dwell in here and shine through us. Ya Qayyum, Ya Qayyum, the self-subsisting. I don't have to think about making my heart beat a certain number of beats per minute. I don't have to think about and make this thing pump a little bit harder if I'm out of breath, or I can't do that. That essence itself is self-subsisting, meaning that it does it. It does it by itself because Allah lives in there. It does it by itself. And at the end of that process, popping out at the thousand petaled lotus, or popping out of the seventh chakra at Nafs Kamalia, or the perfected soul, we've had the proper transmutation take place with the rising of this Islamic Kundalini wearing the kufi up to the top to where now he has reached the seventh station. He's reached the seventh chakra. This perfected soul can be one that may have said to have reached enlightenment, one that may have reached a Buddhahood, or if this is a devotee of Krishna, this person might have reached Krishna Loka. Inshallah, mashallah. It's always threes, right? Because Alif, Lam, Ha. That's Allah. That's Allah. It's always threes. The three pillars of Muridism, of course, are Iman, Islam, Ihsan. I know we've seen this in the logo. It's in the Hadith of Jibril, alayhi salam, but consists of a couple quick bullet points of Iman by Tawheed, which Islamically we say is the faith in the oneness of Allah. But if we know where Allah dwells at right here, and Iman by Tawheed, or faith by Tawheed, or faith in the oneness of Allah, you now have to believe, be, and live as now you know that there's a light within me, and everybody else out there in the world also has that same light within them. So now there's no distinction between the light that came from Allah to embody everything. There's not even the distinction between the messengers, because I'm pretty sure everyone in here has had Allah drop something on them. Message. And this person turned around and gave that message to someone else. So we don't make any distinction between the light that's in the person because it's the same light. And we don't make any distinction between the actual person that's bringing the message, especially if it lines up with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that was taught by the prophets of Allah, and it is one of the revealed books. Because now we have Islam by fiqh, or following the recommendations of the Sharia, right? The not law. You say Sharia on the news too loud, man. They liable to throw a whole fit and we'll go into a whole other Muslim American war. Stop for a lot. Sharia is essentially common do's and don'ts, right? Like how to be, how to live, how to exist, recommendations on how to live as a person of peace, right? You can't be a person of peace that whenever somebody calls me on the phone, we wind up arguing, or we wind up trying to one up each other or story type each other. We y'all have to meet right smack in the middle. Keep our conversation to where it's balanced on both sides, to where I can learn from you, you can learn from me. Nobody's trying to make it seem like one has more than the other. Essentially, sometimes you really just got to play the dumbest person in the room. Those are some of the most interesting conversations when you realize it's not about knocking anybody over the head with this knowledge. It's about the experience. I might think I might know more than this person, but this person might know two or three more languages than me. This person might actually have the whole Quran in the rise. Be humble. Sit down. And Ihsan by Tassawuf. So the three pillars of Moradism are Iman by Tawheed, Islam by Fiqh, Ihsan by Tasawwuf, which in English would mean perfection through initiation. Bayat, all right, Ihsan by Tasawwuf. And that's what we are hitting right there in the word Tasawwuf. All right, Sufi. We're Sufi. And the word Sufi comes from the root of Tassawuf, which actually shares the same root as Sufi. But this perfection through initiation only happens through that initiatory process and progress. You know, a lot of us might have went through a couple, but that's the only way to get it. You're not gonna find it if you don't go asking and seeking and knocking for it. You'll never find it if you don't have a living master, like Sheikh Sufi teaches us as a reminder. You must have a living teacher, because if there is no living teacher, no living representative of the path, then the shaitan is your teacher, not the Christian devil. Like, no, no, no. Shaitan in the lexicon linguistically means imagine a vibration more negative and way lower than the first chakra. Like just keep going down, keep going down, to where you can get to what may be someone's most hateful, evil self, and allowing that to rise up through those channels without purifying them. That's Shaitan. That's Shaitan. So we get perfection through initiation. Ignorance goes out the door, because at that particular stage, astaghfirullah, belief is dead. It only exists at the first two stages. Iman, or loosely translated, does mean faith or belief, right? And at Islam, you have these five pillars that some people, astaghfirullah, would say you have to believe in. But at that step, you don't believe in the pillars. You uphold them. You make sure that you take process, and and in these pillars, you have to start off with the shahada, because otherwise you wouldn't be at Islam. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. There has to be salat, formal prayer, right? There's fasting, it's the third pillar. Zakat, or charity, is the fourth pillar. And then Hajj, or going on the pilgrimage, if the person is financially able to do so. I could definitely throw that out there. after that, what's left for belief at the level of ihsan? Ihsan would be what we would call over here like woke conscious, God consciousness, God bodied, I guess, for some of the 5%ers, east to the gods. But if we're God conscious, if we're constantly tapped into and conscious of Allah to where the remembrance is always going, we've went through tests and trials and experienced things, and we've had such a powerful and strong experience through this path, right? That there's something that happened that only Allah could have done for you on that path. And since there is no other being in existence that could have done some of the things that we may have been blessed for from our conception up until today, if I look dead at it and saw this blessing come straight from Allah, and I know that there is nowhere else that it could come from except but for Allah, what else is there to believe in? Now, you know that there is no God but Allah, that there is no existence but this divine reality. And if we carry ourselves in a divine manner to match the vibration through it, we're able to reach that station of perfection. Don't forget about your understanding of the belief now, because we still have to talk to people outside that believe there was a white guy with blonde hair and blue eyes that was in a country full of black people, and he didn't stick out like a sore thumb. We start for a lot. We still have to experience conversations with people who do believe. So never step off of those previous teachings, right? Because those are the essentially the three steps. Iman is right here, but you don't just knock down Iman and then build Islam. Oh no, no, you keep Iman here, and then you build your Islam on top of the Iman. You build your peaceful state on top of your faith and belief in the oneness of God that is the source of this peaceful state that you're trying to reach and attain. And when you reach and attain that state through perfection, through initiation and experience through those practices, to where something has happened to you in such a way that there's no doubt left in you that it was none but God, none but Allah that did it. You know God did that. So when you have something like that happen to you, to where you know it was God, what's left to believe in? You know that's Ihsan. Now Sheikh New Bamba, he mentions three words again. It's always threes. But before coming into Sufism, or while studying Sufism, he said that there are three things that we have to have knowledge of. One begins with the F, one begins with the A, and the other begins with a T. Does anyone remember or have it floating around up here? Sheikh Bamba mentions about people coming into Sufism that there are three things that he would recommend for them to study, inshallah. I'll hit these three and then we'll pause real quick, because the inner mystical dimensions of Islam are really only able to be truly reached with the proper working knowledge of it, or the five pillars of Islam, the rules, do's and don'ts, ways to be and act, Akida, which is the six articles of faith, or Iman. So we're still learning some of the same things again, you see, in a different vibration, and Tawheed, Fiqh, Akida, and Tawheed. And Tawheed is just the knowledge of the Tahlil, the knowledge of La ilaha illallah. So this lets us know now that there's always a exoteric and an esoteric, the boundary of the Sharia or the Shariat is apparent actions, apparent doings, or staying away from apparent sins. But the teachings we get from Sheikh Sufi, Sheikh Ahmed Bamba focus on the inner plane and the inner dimension, which is the boundary of the Haq, the Hakika, which is also another name for Allah. Remember, Haq means the truth. And the Hakika, the truth of reality, is that it's here. It radiates outward. So that covers all of the hidden sins, because at that point they're no longer hidden if you don't allow them to vibrate from yourself. But with Tarbiyah, Tarkiya, Tasfiyah, the 7 stations of the soul, and the understanding of fiqh, akida, and tawheed, I do believe that's a really good recap on a couple of bullet points that honestly one can just take one of each of those and study, or one cluster of things and study, Tarbiyah, Tarkiya, Tasfiyah, and search those through the groups, search those online in regards to certain Sufi orders, and see how those are explained, to expound on the teachings and then embody them, commend the mind and the heart. The same thing with the fiqh, akida, and tawheed. We must know about those 5 pillars of Islam, because run around and tell somebody I'm a Sufi, but then he knows what a Sufi is, and he asks me, well, what are the 5 pillars of Islam? And I say, you, it's astaghfirullah, shahada, salat, fasting, zakat, and hajj, right? The 6 articles of faith: belief in Allah, belief in the angels, belief in the prophets, belief in the revealed books, belief in the day of judgment, and belief in the divine decree. So no matter how deeply esoteric we can get, right, we still stand on that base that we started on. I see my beloveds in the building. I'll open the floor for any questions, and I'll open up and switch gears. Brother Sheikh Far, assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam, Cheikh and family. Planting my tardiness.
Oh man, Allah is always on time. I hear from a little birdie that we probably had a similar topic of discussion, right?
I mean, in fact, we were completely in tune as I contacted Sheikh Mustafa and mentioned that if, the slot were taken, that I would take it. But if it wasn't, that I would like to teach Tassawuf 101, the basics of Tassawuf. And he said that your subject was, pretty much the same thing. So alhamdulillah.
Man. Well, if I hadn't knocked out anything that you were going to go over, or if you want to expound, well, we can definitely tag team, brother.
It's more than an honor to tag team with you, Sheikh. Whenever you're ready for me to, I would just add. I would look at it like we're building a building, and even though you pretty much finished at the attic, maybe I could, I could add the annex or something to the attic, maybe. You pretty much covered everything. Alhamdulillah.
I mean, well, I yield. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, family. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I bear witness that Allah is the only reality, and that He is the revealer of all truth, the sender of all prophets. We thank Allah in His majestic wisdom for all of the revealers of truth that have come throughout the ancient and the modern day time, as Brother Khalid used to say, down through the divine line of time. We thank Allah for all of them, knowing that the master of them, meaning the prophets, is in our Sayyidina Muhammad. And we bear witness that in the community of prophets, messengers, sages, and wise ones, that our Sheikh Ahmed Bamba is the summation and the master of the previous walis, kutubs, and sheikhs. On that foundation, we thank our beloved Sheikh Sufi Ba for his years of traveling on this journey to go and get the teachings of Sheikh Ahmed Bamba and bring them here to us in the West. Now, personally, by Allah's grace, as the present acting head of the Fordania Murid Order, this logo you see sitting behind me bears witness to another thing that I must say. And it is part of our mission in reaching across the globe and making two particular systems shake hands. So as I bore witness to what I did in my opening, I will be remiss to not bear witness to the divine visit that we got. We, meaning us here in North America, the Insan Camille that visited North America with the mission to give the root of divine science of Tassawuf, of Islam, Iman and Ihsan, to the mentally dead, sleeping Asiatics of North America. And that one is Master W.F. Muhammad, or Master Farad Muhammad, who is the teacher of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It was he that guided me to Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba and later to our beloved Sheikh Sufi Ba. So in all of their holy names, I greet you once again with greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. So, Sheikh Diallo, those who are used to listening to Sheikh Fard, they used to my long openings. So I appreciate everybody for tolerating them. They like, Sheikh Fard, go with these long openings. But I just like to give credit where it's due. And there's a lot of credit due to these ones that have paved the way and have laid a foundation that we're all standing on. And so it's always a great thing to show gratitude to those ones. So what I would add to your talk, I would say this. As I was thinking, it's interesting how sometimes you have to yield to Allah is, we plan and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. Because I would have been on the call earlier, but I was en route to get to a location that was quiet enough. And the means of transportation that I was taking, there was a delay. So actually it just didn't come. So in the alternative route, I actually met a light beam on the way to you all. That's on a pure light beam, spiritual, recognize the beads, everything. And it seems as if that delay was really a chance to make a new friendship. So I say that to speak to the wisdom of knowing that you have to submit to this. Is really not submitting to the circumstance, but it's submitting to understanding, tawakkul, and trust in Allah that He really is the best of planners. And as long as you're keeping your beads moving, the circumstances really don't matter. Because as Sheikh Diallo just stated in the foundation of this talk, everything radiates from the inward outward. So many times we try to plan life the other way around. We try to plan life from the outward. And this is why this world is in the condition that it's in, because we have reversed the formula that the scriptures say, seek ye first the kingdom of God. It mentions that as an order. It's not saying that you shouldn't seek things, you shouldn't seek opportunity, but seek ye first. So there's an order to this. Because if you seek things first, as Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba teaches in the Masalik of Jannah, he said it is certain studies and knowledge and different things that harden the heart. But think about most of the people that end up in church, most of the people that end up religious are elders. Right? And they're not elders many times that have been in the church all of those years. They're elders that chased the world and found out that there was nothing there. And then when they're almost on their way out, these are the guys that end up being the deacon at the church telling you need to see God. Well, we don't have to wait until life is almost out of us. We can get the formula now and get what is the equation now and seek ye first the kingdom of God and all of its righteousness, the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and then all of these things will be added. And in Tassawuf, we have a supreme advantage because we not only automatically understand that concept to become Sufis, but we're given tremendous tools to accelerate the process in the form of formulas, practices, prayers, and so forth. So as I was waiting to be picked up and it just didn't show up, I started focusing more on my beads. I was in the middle of a practice anyway, so I just started radiating. And then the intuition said, go the other way. I went the other way and met the light beam. So because my frequency is right, the circumstance doesn't matter. Other circumstances will line up to match my frequency. And so when we're zikkering, we should always keep these things in mind. So as I was on the way to you, I was thinking about what I would say today as Tassawuf 101. And I wanted to cover some of the basics. This is going to turn into a Q&A, is what I would like. But I would just like to plant some kind of foundational seeds. Sheikh Diallo has already pretty much done that work for us. But I would like to step more into the, so since you already pretty much did Tassawuf 101, planning the 3 T's and the 3 I's and so forth, I would like to add to that the Niyat. So now I would change my talk, the Niyat of Tassawuf. Because I heard Sheikh Sufi Bhai say one time that Tassawuf, the way that it is taught by Sheikh Ahmed Bamba, sounds like Buddhism. This is one of the things that made me choose him as a sheikh, the fact that he stated this. Okay. Because on my path, of course, I come from, you all know some of my background, but I come from another Sufi order. And even in the path of whatever esoteric science that I've studied over the years, Buddhism played a big role because the Buddhists have a very quote unquote atheistic approach to divinity. And I'm saying atheistic in quotes because it's really not atheistic. It's only atheistic to religious people that think God is out there, or that God is something other than self. So when they hear people that believe that God is only self, to them it sounds like that person doesn't believe in God. But it's really, they don't believe in God the way you're saying it, is that they know God to be a reality as self, which is a big leap of difference. So anyway, as I was studying Buddhism, this is one of the points that would drive me over the years, because in Buddhism, they say that it is your duty. Now think about this. This ends up showing up in the teachings of Honorable Elijah Muhammad as the Hajj, the inner Hajj, or the greater Hajj, which is why he said that, you know, he taught about Hajj in a different way. Well, I'll go into that later, but it is your duty to attain enlightenment in this life. It is your duty. It's something you must do. A duty is bounded upon you, right? Not something that you should do. It would be nice if you did it. No, it's your duty. You must. Meaning when the time when that sperm hits the ovum and then 9 months later manifests as you, from that moment of first breath, your duty is to enlighten and to manifest the Buddha state, right? So when you approach the path like that, it changes the way that you move. You don't have to be preempted by religious fear and other stimuluses that usually make people do what they do. It's an internal drive, and that drove me into Sufism. So once I finally found out that we did have an esoteric system inside of Islam, because I was a Muslim studying Buddhism, right? But nobody other than Honorable Elijah Muhammad and a few points that I studied from Noble Drew Ali was talking about the inner way in this way. So of course Elijah saying that, you know, God is man and man is God, and you know, Buddhism providing the concept of the bija, or the seated sounds, which open up divinity. I put the two of those together to mean that means the attributes of Allah is the seated sounds, and we must awaken Allah inside. And this is before I ever knew that there were Sufis that would say this. So that's how you know that the path chooses us. We don't choose the path. The path. When you're really a Sufi, you're really in this, you were chosen. Right? So it is, so let me say that. The Niyat of Tassawuf. What is the difference between a Shariat Muslim and a Sufi? We're both Muslims, but one of us is something that the other one is not. This is a clear distinction. One of us is something that the other may never be. Because as Muslims, we bear witness to the oneness of Allah, interconnection of his prophets and the revelations that they brought. And on a basic level, that righteousness is the way of life. Okay. That's the basic premise of Islam. You just had to put it into a few little words, right? But in that, where does Allah manifest fully and come to life in person, in real life? Of course, in righteousness, the elders walking across the street and drop the bag and you help them pick the bag up and get across the street. That's a good deed. That's righteousness. Something that makes you feel warm inside. All praises due to Allah. But this is more than that. This is more than that. The way that Allah is manifest is through and as you in an infinitude of forms. These forms called people. There never will be another Sheikh Diallo, ever. There never was one before. That combination of attributes and molecules and atoms that configurated to become him only happens one time. And because it only happens one time, guess who that really is at making that happen that one time? That's Allah manifesting as Sheikh Diallo. And is every one of us too. So this is one of the ways that the attribute, the eternal becomes manifest, because every time a child is born, every time an original child is born, Allah is manifest. And the degree of that manifestation will depend on that person's ability to awaken and invoke the attributes. Not just one attribute, but all of the attributes. Of course, you have a unique composite of attributes that are your own, but the 99 attributes are all in every one of us. And even the secret names that are outside of them, all of that is within us. And your unique stamp is what you came here to give us. You came here to do this. So if you do not do this, this is, the Buddhists consider that the greatest sin. That's the sin. That you came here and you didn't manifest enlightenment. You wanted, Master Muhammad would say, you could sum my teachings up in 6 words: accept your own and be yourself. But who is yourself? Yourself is really Allah, a righteous Muslim. That's who yourself is. And once you've accepted this fact, now it is a duty. Here's the Niyat. It is your duty to be that to the fullest of your extent. We come from a hip-hop shake, so we could quote hip-hop verses in our order, like people quote Socrates and Plato, right? So one of my favorite philosophers, a man named Rakim Allah, says in the song "In the Ghetto," to be, he says, it's a lot to learn, and I got the know-how to be all I can be and more. To see all there is to see before I'm called to go back to the essence. To be all I can be and more. That's the Niyat of Tassawuf. But what is the all that you can be? The all that you can be is Allah manifest. The attributes of Allah fully manifest. So this is the duty that we must, this is what we take when we pick up these. We're not doing this as a religious act. Oh, you're Muslim, oh, y'all praying. Yeah. No. I'm not just praying. I'm invoking God on the inside. And the better that I invoke God on the inside, the better I will be able to call him and get a response to him on the outside. But it's my duty to get him awakened as me. Is a duty that I become the dwelling place for his attributes to become fully magnified. That's a duty. I wake up with it. I go to sleep with it. And as I've seen in a lot of different Sufi texts, it says that the thing that a real Sufi will regret the most upon his deathbed is that they didn't zikr more. That's because that Sufi understands the Niyat of Tassawuf. The intention of Tassawuf is to become Allah fully. But do you understand how important this is, family, to have this in your framework? If this isn't in your mental framework, then just go back to being a regular Sharia Muslim. It's not a bad thing. We won't judge you. We'll give you the greetings and eat dates with you in Ramadan. We break fast. All praises to Allah. But that ain't this, is what I'm saying. This is something different, right? The goal is almost like this. So I want to build on something that I just heard Sheikh Diallo saying. Keep somebody timing, because y'all know how I get, and I'm already late. So we still want to stay within the time frame. I know you started at it's 7:30. So somebody, time stop me when I should. Okay. So Sheikh Diallo was saying, I just lost my point. I wanted to build on the importance of understanding that isn't this. So, okay, law reverse effort, it'll come back. But you see the point. That has to be in your mind when you come to this path. This is not a religious path. This is the highest of religious paths, right? Our beloved Sheikh said, if they say of Sufism, that, okay, being a Muslim, you're a Muslim. So being a Sufi is like Muslim, right? But then being a Murid Sufi, that's like Sufi, right? So this is the highest of the high, right? Because we're coming to it with the Niyat of Tassawuf. We're coming to an understanding that my duty is only one. And really, this is the real Hajj. This is the real Hajj. This is why in the Nation of Islam, we were given 5 pillars, but the Hajj is not one of the 5 pillars of the Nation of Islam. It's not in the because Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the pilgrimage and Hajj, the pilgrimage, and Mecca itself is a sign. And he said if he had it his way, he bulldozed the whole thing. I think Rumi said something similar in his writings, because we go through that ritual missing the point, the journey, all of those things are metaphysical examples of something that's supposed to happen within the human being. But the real journey, the real Hajj, is back to self, back from you thinking that you're a mortal human being worshiper to becoming Allah, to being able to say Alif Lam Mim, and it be true, not a mantra. That you could say it in fact, right? This is the real Hajj. And I'm not speaking against going to Hajj, because of course, Honorable Elijah Muhammad went to Arabia. He talked about it. He said, I went to the stone, the black stone, I kissed it. He said, I didn't like to kiss it, though, because I wanted to tell the man, this is a sign of me. The sign, that stone is a sign of a people coming back to themselves. Abraham, our father, knew that the day would come, in the last day, where the knowledge of self will be revealed to us, and when we were raised from this level back to the level of supreme existence. And then once that happens, of course, you see the Muslims rotating around the Kaaba. That's because then, as Allah, now you could dictate the divine agenda of the human family. That is the duty of every Sufi. It's not necessarily the duty of Muslims. Muslims' duties are to worship Allah and to religiously follow the 5 pillars. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm saying in our path, we automatically do that because as Allah, like Sheikh Diallo was just saying, when you come through a particular stage and you know that it was only God, belief leaves. There's no such thing as belief no more. You're not just a believer anymore. You've been on this path and all belief, that's like preschool belief. At some point, you have to know Allah has to be your reality. When you say, I bear witness, see, when you first say that, it's a statement. You're affirming. You're really, in many ways, wishing that that would be the truth. I bear witness that Allah is God, Muhammad is his messenger. But on this path, you're a shahid of the fact. You're a witness. When you say, I bear witness, you say, I know. It's a difference. So I'm saying is we pick up these beads, do not pick up these beads with religious intent. Pick up these beads with the duty of becoming your Allah self. That is my duty. I must do it. It's almost like I cannot die until this is done. If I die and this isn't done, that is the greatest sin. This is the approach that we have to have if we are to become the masters that we are to be. You know, our Sheikh said he came to make masters. Pastor Muhammad said the same thing. I came to make gods. I ain't come to make worshipers. If you don't take this Niyat of Tassawuf, you will only be a worshiper. Because you could fall off and fall. What stops the Sufi from falling off? Every one of us know people that are Muslims that fall off. I'm trying to get back to my deen. If you saying Allah, 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 la ilaha illallah, bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim over and over and over and over again, you're on your deen in a way that most people can't even conceive because you are the deen. You're embodying the way. Does that make sense, family? I hope I'm touching a chord for somebody. You become the way yourself, right? I remember reading this story and I could relate to it so much. Apprentice wanted to come to a master. He was a Sufi master. And he wanted to be his direct apprentice, the kind that, if he passed away, he would deposit all of his secrets into him. This person was a really, really good Sharia Muslim. Now listen very closely to the story. I don't remember where I read this, but it's one of my favorite stories. And our beloved Sheikh teaches us that Sufis are storytellers. So the master tells him, okay, your first assignment is, I want you to stop praying 5 times a day. Stop reading the Holy Quran. Stop all of that. He didn't tell him to go break laws or anything. He didn't tell him, I want you to stop doing this. Now, could you imagine, this is a Muslim going to a Sufi master who's supposed to be Muslim, and that Muslim, a Sufi master tells him, stop being, most people would compute this as, he just told me to stop being a Muslim. He said, stop praying. Right? But this is what he told him. He said, okay, I'm going to give you these verses that I want you to chant every single day without fail. Even if you spend all day doing it, he gave him la ilaha illallah, and I forget what the other formulas, but la ilaha illallah was one of them. And he did this for 2 years, faithfully. He would spend his whole days, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. And he was constantly around the master, the Sheikh. So of course the Sheikh was energetically, because there's some things that can only be transferred. This is why it's so important to spend time with your Sheikh, because there's some things that can only happen person to person. All of it is not in a book or even verbally transmitted. Just being around the Sheikh, he can give you things without you even knowing. Okay? And I bear witness to this, especially in the case of our Sheikh Sufi Ba. I could tell you all stories about that, so you all know I've spent a lot of time with them. So 2 years later, he comes back to the master. Okay, Sheikh, I've done la ilaha illallah so much. It's the only thing that's playing in my head now. My thoughts have become consumed with La ilaha illallah? Is there anything else? He tells him, start praying 5 times a day. Start reading Holy Quran. Start following the Sharia as strictly as you can. He's like, that's what I was already doing. But now, watch this. When he goes back to praying, now his salat has a completely different meaning and experience to it. Because at first, when you're robotically doing salat, you're trying to focus. You do this all day. As soon as you stand in that first position, everything else in the world blocks out. And all you're thinking about is Allah, because you spend your whole day thinking about Allah anyway. So your prayer and salat is going to be different than an average Muslim. I remember when beloved Cheikh, I give you all the story. When he was living in New Mexico, and I went there and spent some time with him. It was a particular practice that he gave me. And so I started doing the practice there because I wanted to make sure I had the neural pathways developed before I got back home. And he had told me that, this particular practice, you have to do the 5 salats in order for the practice to activate. And then he gave me a nuance, because he knows how I am, to make sure that I would do it. He says that the prophet and the other sheikhs that he had met would do salat wherever they were at, even if they were sitting like this, and say if they was comatose or something in a body cast, he said they would move their eyes in the position of salat. Because if you think about it, the brain is picking up frequencies. What we do when you do your hands like this is an internal reality is happening in the brain. Everything is really happening inside. This is just a screen. So if you're thinking of the positions of salat, I just gave you all a big secret right there. Wasn't trying to. If you're even thinking of the positions, you're doing salat, because the brain doesn't know the difference. Okay. Message, like Sheikh Diallo always said. Okay, so he gave me that to do. When I got back home, I'm on the train on the way somewhere, and it's time for salat, and I do salat. And it was like, when I said Allahu Akbar in this position, it was like everything ceased. And it was like I was standing right there in front of the throne. I couldn't hear anything around me. And on public transit, people be loud. Negroes be loud. I couldn't hear nothing. And I came back to. So it's like I went somewhere else. This is the inner reality of salat. But that inner reality can only happen when you activate the attributes, when you're waking God up on the inside. Right? So it really puts you as a supreme advantage. If you went to Allah and prayed for something, which would you rather have? Him give you the something or give you the key to how to get the something? Because Allah, the main difference between Allah and us is that he knows the key. He has the formulas to everything in existence. But each time he's giving you a formula, he's making you more of an Allah. Honorable Elijah Muhammad said the word Allah covers all Muslims. But we have an almighty Allah, who's one who's always aware. He don't have to zikr. He knows himself fully, right? But we have to remember because we've forgotten. We're in a state of amnesia, in a state of mental death, being resurrected. But every time Allah gives you a key, a formula, a practice, that's really making you less and less of a worshiper. Because now you don't have to go to Allah and say, could you heal, da, da, da. You know what to do to heal somebody. You do such and such El Shifa, or you do this particular formula this amount of time, the person is going to be healed. You don't have to ask Allah for that. You got the key. But you will never have that kind of confidence in the keys if you don't have this, what I'm calling the Niyat of Tassawuf. Our Niyat. This might not be the Niyat for every Sufi, but we're not average Sufis. We're the elite of Sufis in this order under our Sheikh Sufi Ba, even different from other Murids, right? Because those other Murids, some of them don't come from the Asiatic covenant, so they don't have the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Noble Drew Ali, 5% Nation, all that. They don't have Buddhism, all of that in their toolbox. But our Sheikh does. So we are a different breed of Sufis, and even a different breed of Murids, Sufis under Sheikh Ahmed Obama. Our Niyat, and this is definitely the case in the Fordania order, our Niyat is to, our Niyat is to completely accept our own and fully be ourselves. What does that mean? 5% would say arm, leg, arm, head. When I see you, I should be looking at God, literally, from both ends, from me having the awakened state to be able to see you as God, because God only sees himself, right? And you from being that because you are manifesting the 99 attributes. Really both require the manifestation of the attributes. But I'm saying, let's make this the focus, make this the thing, the reason why you do this. Not because you want blessings, not because you want to be righteous. You can go to church to do that, right? No, you come to this path to become Allah, manifest in human form. I hate to say it like that, but for lack of better words, to become Allah manifest so that Allah's power can be felt and experienced everywhere, serving the human family. Because Baal Mahayadin says that the 99 attributes are really 99 duties. That word is again duty. The duty, the attribute is a duty. So Allah must do this particular thing, right? So when you become Allah manifest, when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talks about the 24 scientists, these are men who serve the human family behind the scenes. Alhamdulillah, thank you. Behind the scenes. We don't become Allah to become worshipped, to be honored and sit on the thrones so that other people can still be, servants and they can worship us. No, the worship takes the form of service. And what's so crazy about it is that much of it is unseen. Think about that's one of Allah's attributes. Think of two of Allah's attributes, the unseen and the humble. Right? How is Allah humble? If anybody got the right to be all about himself, it's him, but he's not. Because he regulates the affair behind the scene. And that's the duty. People don't even understand the real value of a wali. It is a blessing. And you know what? I'm going to say this. By Allah's grace, he has given me that confidence. When I'm walking among people, and I'm not saying this with arrogance, I'm saying it from a divine standpoint. It's a blessing because I'm coming and I'm changing all of our situation. You a Negro that was in a line thinking of something wicked you was gonna do today, and then I walk up talking about la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, and thought traveling at 24 billion miles per second enters your Negroish brain and deletes that thought. And then you see me, you say, man, he might be a Muslim. Boom, now Islam is on your mind. Your reality has changed right there. Well, I'm walking and I'm always playing Falzani because it's one of my favorite guitars. I'm blasting Falzani subtly wherever I'm going. So I'm making tuba everywhere because I'm the antenna of Allah. I am the broadcasting station of Allah. Do you understand the value, the honor? The population should feel like that about walis. That's how they should feel. I was walking on the street the other day and I saw a lady saw my beads. She was a Tibetan Buddhist. And she asked me what was I chanting, and I told her because sometimes I don't reveal my identity. I'll stay kind of enigmatic. So I said it depends on what effect I'm trying to produce. That determines what I'm chanting. And she said, oh, okay, well, I'm a Tibetan Buddhist. So she said, send me some positive vibrations. That's a person that understands. So the greatest duty, and this should be a burning desire, like in the law of attraction books where they always talk about have a burning desire and a chief aim. Your chief aim and burning desire is to be Allah manifest. That is your chief aim. It overrides, it overrules everything else. Now, luckily and blessed for us, we don't have to come up with how to do that. It is your chief aim and purpose. This should be like how in the law of attraction books, how they always talk about a burning desire, but they talking about acquiring things. If you want this house, it should be a burning desire and a chief aim. Okay, for us, our chief aim and burning desire is to become, not to become, but you really already are, to be your Allah self. That is your chief aim. This overrides every other aim. Every other goal that you have is irrelevant to this chief aim. Seek ye first. This is the first aim. When you wake up in the morning, the first thought should be, how can I be more Allah today than I was yesterday? How can I manifest Allah to my full ability? Well, hold up, Cheikh. I thought your talk was Tassawuf 101. Yes, it is. It is Tassawuf 101. Guess why? Because all of the beautiful foundation that Sheikh Diallo just laid means nothing if you don't have, well, I don't want to say it means nothing. It doesn't mean nothing. But it can mean very little in terms of what our Sheikh is trying to do with us. See, we're a different kind of team, squad. We're not the same kind of squad of Sufis. So I'm not giving average coaching techniques. I'm talking about Sufis that only win. And win for us means being masters, every single one of us, right? So in that sense, what I'm saying is true. Having all of those bullet points, achieving them means nothing. Let me say it that way. Achieving them means nothing if this is not your Niyat. Because if this is your Niyat, you will achieve and surpass every one of those. Islam, Iman, Ihsan. The 3 T's, the 3 M's, right? Muslim, Mu'min, Musin. You will attain these without even trying. Guess why? Because you're not trying. You're doing it because this is what you came here to do. I have to do this. I cannot die until this happens. This is the way that the Buddhists think. So when I found out that we had that in Islam, I said, I'll be damned if I let a Buddhist out God me. Right? So I borrowed that from Buddhism and kept. And they have other little things that I like the lotus chant, the chant that activates the law of cause and effect, the mystic law. What I say? Somebody cracking up. Alhamdulillah, for whatever it was. They have statements like the lotus chant is the chant that if you all ever seen the Tina Turner movie, What's Love Got to Do with It? When she became a Buddhist, she used the lotus chant. Okay. And when they interviewed her, the only thing that she ever gives credit to is the lotus chant. And here's the reason, because in Buddhism, in that form of Buddhism, they say, implore no human strategy. Employ no other human strategy other than the lotus chant. Employ no other, so don't come up with nothing else. Buddhism, don't come up with nothing else as my strategy other than this chant. Absolutely. Employ no other human strategy. What if we took that? Everything that we want to do, employ no other human strategy other than la ilaha illallah. Employ no other human strategy other than Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Employ no other human strategy in your walk than this chief aim of being your Allah self. Nothing else matters. The Kabbalah teaches it like this. When you're going through all of the humiliating aspects of life, they say you shouldn't be whining and complaining. The only thing you should be asking is, am I like God yet? Am I more like God yet? That's the only question you should be asking. Am I more like God yet? So I think I painted like I said, I just added an annex, Cheikh, to the beautiful foundation that you laid, because the Niyat of Tassawuf in this order. I'm not saying you're going to look anywhere and find a teaching on the Niyat. Let's say Cheikh Fard came up with this concept today and introduced it into our minds. Not that I came up with the concept, but you know what I'm saying. This needs to be the way that we think as a coach. I'm coaching the team, saying the way that we think, our way, our driving force is the Niyat, the reason, the intention. What is my intention when I pick up these beats? To be more Allah than I was an hour ago. And my Allah realization is one zikr away. Think about that. My full Allah realization is one zikr away. So if I could just keep one of these Allahs, one of these La ilaha illallah, one of these Yalatif is going to open it up. So I'm just going to keep doing them. I know in network marketing, when I used to work in network marketing years ago, we would join opportunities and we would say, I'm going to get in this just in case it's true. Right? So as a believer, one who has not experienced Hakikat yet, you don't necessarily know. But guess what? I'm going to do La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, just in case it's true. That one day I'm going to be able to fully say Alif Lam Mim. And it be true, in fact, not an affirmation. When you're affirming something, you're trying to convince yourself. I'm not trying to convince myself. I'm trying to be myself fully. Then I don't have to say it. The creation will say it to me, because the creation was made to bow to its creator. The animals will know it when I come around. Nature will know it, right? This is the level of the masters. This is where Sheikh Ahmed Dubamba is trying to take us. This is where our Sheikh Sufi Ba is trying to take us. And this was my Niyat before I got to him. So when I heard a man talking like that, I said, oh yeah, I'm definitely joining up in him. And he sounded like he got the keys to get there. I'm going to join just in case it's true. So I pray that somebody in the audience got something from that. And I'll open up for a few questions now. Allah's grace, if you have any. No questions?
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam, wa alaikum salam.
I think I got one. See, we can go back in the old time machine real quick. When was or what was the first Sufi teaching that you heard back when you were going through the journey with the NOI, where you were like, this is way deeper than you know.
Well, when you say way deeper, are you saying, I just want to make sure I understand the question, that I was saying that this is way deeper than what I was currently studying?
I wouldn't say currently studying. I would say, I guess, kind of like how someone on the outside looking in might kind of view the divination, like because of quote unquote little stereotypes and sayings and things, and not really, the extent of what's going on.
Okay, now look, check it out. It's okay, so you saying what I thought you were really saying. Now listen to this. Thank you for asking this. So when I came into the teachings, I skipped. I was kind of like I'm a real stubborn student. Every master that I ever studied under said this. They said it's a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing because I'm obedient, but I'm hard headed. So, I'm the type that if the Cheikh, if the master say, don't go to that chapter yet, you ain't ready, I'll be already at the chapter, trying to figure out why I'm not ready. So when I first came in, I studied the theology of time. The theology of time, well, how do you to live? Parts of Our Savior Has Arrived, and the theology of time were the first books that I had read all the way through. I read chapters out of Message to the Black Man, but I read that once I was an adult 40 all the way through. I hadn't read it as a child because to me, the social parts of what Elijah, his social program and position, these were things to me, it's like he was buying time with us. Because, as they say, if you find a man in a cave, you get him out of the cave, you don't want to teach him about the stars. You want to teach him how to take a club and hit something over the head and eat. Then you can teach him about the stars. So he found us in, deprived social conditions in America. He was talking about cracking atoms and stuff all the way through, but to really get our attention, he had to provide our basic needs. So the social aspects of Islam in the nation is what people think is the teachings of Elijah Muhammad, and it's really not. That's not the teachings of Elijah. That's the program and position. That would be more like his socialist teachings. But his Islam, you find his Islam in books like Our Savior Has Arrived, Theology of Time. And in the Theology of Time, this was what it said. This is answering your question, Cheikh. He said, he was talking about when Allah creates planets. And he was saying, he doesn't do, Allah doesn't do what the devil does, with architecture, where he has to draw it up on a spec sheet. He said, that's not what Allah does. He said, Allah just wills it out there. God's will a planet out there. And however much time later, there it is. But I mean, they come up with all the specs and then say, boom, and then all the forces start to arrange. Because you think everything is made of atoms, and you're the atoms, and you really are the base of the atom. So all you doing is just telling those atoms form into this. So I'm 14 years old, like, yo, why did he say that though? What was the reason for saying that? What was he really telling us? And then he would say other stuff like in his teaching of, how to get employment, you ought to really want to be free. So I'm going to teach you how to get a job. So to me, the God part of the teachings, the being Allah part is what he really wanted to teach, but it took 40 years of buying time, providing for us to get us there. That's why in 1972, nation was at its height, owned all of this stuff. Believers, well-fed, clothed, sheltered. He's like, good, now let's get down to God. So when I came across that, so the first Theology of Time, and then the book, the essays on the teachings of Master Farah Muhammad, the book about Master Farah Muhammad and Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba, those were the first two books that I read. So when I seen Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba's take on Islam, I'm like, dang, this is the rest of the teachings. This is Islam for real right here. So it's like Elijah provided the answer at the end of the problem, and then Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba provided the framework to how to get to the answer. And that's the way Elijah Muhammad said, teach. Teach at the end of the subject. Go to the end of your point when you teach a subject, right? Then go back and line up why you said that. So he comes on the scene, man is God, God is man. Okay, then Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba says, this is how God is man. Do this, do that. This practice will lead to this. Boom. Iman, Islam, Iman, Islam. In order to be God again, you got to submit first. Once you submit long enough, faith will open up. Once faith becomes graduated, now you know yourself. You are that let me know then. Then it wasn't nothing you could do with me at this point now, because I opened the Holy Quran, because I was studying all kind of stuff too. So I opened the Holy Quran and I see Alif Lam Mim, the first verse of the second chapter. This is Allah introducing himself to the classroom. Lesson number 1, I'm the best knower. All right. Lesson number 2, this book, there is no doubt in it. When I found out that the word Quran means that which is to be recited, I'm like, okay, the Quran means that which is to be recited, then he's telling me to say that I am Allah, the best knower. Why would Allah tell me to say that? Then it's like explosions went off. Ah, this is an affirmation. And if I say it long enough, one day it's going to be true. Of course, there's other things that come with that. Your heart got to be purified. But guess what? All of that's built into, that's the beauty of our teaching. That's the beauty of Quran. That's why the Quran said there's no doubt in this. This, what we have, there's other ways to reach self-realization and mastery, but Islam is the safest way. Why the safest way? Because other paths are successful, but there's dangers in some of these other paths. Because if the heart is not purified and the person reaches mastery, then you'll be like that. There's a person in one of my favorite books, The Autobiography of a Yogi. There was this guy called the Muslim, it was called the Mohammedan miracle worker. And he had met like a great guru that gave him the access to one of the astral planes where if he touched the item, he could make the atoms of that item dissipate and then rematerialize later. So he could shake hands with you, touch your ring, and then walk away. And later your ring would be gone. So he was abusing power. But guess what? If he would have been doing la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, now he was a Muhammadan, he obviously was a Muslim and not a Sufi. Because if he was a Sufi, his heart would have been pure, because when you do these practices, that's already built into the system. Allah already considered that. It already makes you, I'm sorry.
No, disagreeing with that. I mean.
Yeah, it'll already make you pure. So there's no risk of power being put into the hands of a Sufi, because you spend, like I say, you can't do this in sin too. You could try, it's not gonna work. Keep doing la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah in the club. People sitting next to you popping shots, and you doing la ilaha illallah about to pop a shot too. Try it. All you're gonna do is be extremely disgusted.
For real.
And it's gonna take away the desire, because that's built into the system itself. The Quranic verses are purifiers. So all we really have to do is just trust it enough to recite it. So that's why he says this book, there is no doubt in it. He's letting you know these are verses of a book that makes manifest. There's no doubt in this. So you don't have to spend time researching nothing. Just do this. I am the best knower. This book, there is no doubt in it. That's what made me know it was more. And I started seeing that. And then when Cheikh Ahmed in that book, he's talking about abjad and how the numbers are letters. And I was like, oh man, this is. So you can imagine as a 14-year-old coming across that. The only thing that I was missing was a Sufi Sheikh. So imagine if I would have met like a Sheikh Sufi back then. I probably would have been too much. It was probably better than found it as an adult. I'd have been out here trying to take over the world with the practices. So that's crazy ambition.
The United States of Fardania, right?
Right, yeah, right, exactly. That's exactly what it would have been. So, but yeah, that I pray that answered your question, Cheikh.
Oh, indeed, that definitely did. It hit the spot on, man. Thank you for taking us through that journey, brother.
Any more questions? Oh, I think I know what you laughed at, Cheikh, when I said I'll be damned if I let a Buddhist outgod me. I think that,
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Astaghfirullah.
Walaikum salam.
You right on the head, Sheikh. Astaghfirullah, I heard Sheikh Sufi say, you think your kung fu is better than mine?
Exactly.
Ironically, it was you were speaking about Buddhism at the same time, Astaghfirullah, all praises.
and this is a funny thing too, because I heard Sheikh Sufi say this when I was with him one time, that a lot of times, we come into Islam, if we come into Sharia Islam, the nation is the only place I haven't seen this happen, but it's something more to this. So, the righteous, the structure, the discipline, that helps. But it's like, okay, but I need more than this. And if you don't know that the more is right in Islam, you'll end up studying Buddhism. That's why I ended up there. I could have saved myself a whole lot of time. Once I found out Sufism existed, I was mad. I was like, man, I'm doing lotus chants and doing all of this. I mean, I got all kind of science from them, but I was like, it was here, right here under my nose the whole time. So that's the importance of the Sufi. We have to let people know that Islam is more than just a religion that tells people what not to do and what to do. We have to let people know the divine realization part of this. And all of that lays upon the basis of my talk tonight, the thesis of it, which is the Niyat of Tassawuf. That this is the duty of a Sufi, is to become Allah. And I mean, if you become Allah, then you're automatically going to be a good Muslim. Most people just want to be a good Muslim. Right? That's not enough for us. Because being a good Muslim is really being Allah. Because that's what Allah made us in his image and likeness. And he gave the first example of that in Surah Baqarah. He teaches Adam all of the names. Adam knew the names in the angel's Bible. Adam is a progenitor, an example for what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to manifest, know all the names, know it, not know internally. In the ancient, know doesn't mean the same thing as it means in this language. In this language, know something means you can regurgitate it verbally. But in the ancient world, in every language, just about know means to experience something. So like how the 5% used to say, know the ledge. If you don't know something, to do and not, what they say, to know and not to do is not to know. If you can't do what you're saying, you don't know it. You're just saying something. You're quoting it. But to know it, knowledge of self. What is knowledge of self? Oh, I'm the original man. First people, that's information of self. Do you know? Do you know how to do what they did? Then you don't have knowledge of self. It is the duty of us to know God as self. And I think that's going to be my last one. And I'll hand it back over to you, Cheikh. Thank you for letting me add a few minutes to your talk tonight. I pray that it was beneficial in some way. I had no notes and no blueprint, but I just wanted to put that niyat into our heart, hoping that as we approach this week with our practices and our different things that we got from our Cheikh, that niyat is at the root of our every millisecond of thinking, that I must be Allah in human, in full manifestation. So on that note, I greet you all as I end. Bismillah, assalamu
alaikum. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I think Sheikh Sufi mentioned in a video, like, it's impossible for me to be God, but it is not impossible for Allah to be me. And you, and you, and you, and you,
Amen.
and you.
Amen. Amen.
So with that, we'll close. We appreciate the light beings for coming in tonight to share the knowledge, wisdom, understanding, to take it in, go to sleep with it tonight, inshallah, and wake up in tomorrow morning and be successful. Alhamdulillah. Al-Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله وهو العلي العظيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين واهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahu la ilaha illa huwal hayyul qayyum. La ta'khudhuhu sinatun wa la nawm. Lahu ma fi samawati wa ma fil ard. Ma dhal ladhi yashfa'u indahu illa bi iznihi ya'lamu ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يعوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Considering tuba, but 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 considering tuba. I mean, until we meet again, beloveds. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Wa alaikum salam, Cheikh and family. Wake Sheikh Sufi Ba.
I mean, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Get your shakes.